Why is that old parasite here? We don't have room for you. Megan's voice sliced through my beach house like a slap to the soul. I stood there at the doorway of the home I had built with my own hands, my keys trembling as she glared at me from my own terrace with pure contempt. I had arrived early that Friday, expecting the quiet refuge I'd cherished for years. Instead, I stepped into a nightmare. My driveway was filled with unfamiliar cars, loud music shook the walls, and the smell of burnt food hung thick in the air. Children I had never met were running across my deck, kicking a soccer ball into the red geranium pots I'd lovingly cared for. The lawn I mowed every weekend was crushed beneath their feet, littered with empty beer cans. My wicker chairs, bought with so much heart, were buried under wet towels and dirty clothes. My beautiful sanctuary looked like it had survived a storm. And Megan, she didn't show an ounce of shame. She stood in the doorway as if she owned the entire place, wearing my apron, the one I embroidered 10 years ago with my own hands. Her eyes were cold, the same cold she saved for me at family dinners when she thought no one noticed. I didn't know you were here, I said, trying to steady my voice. This is my home. I've spent every holiday weekend here for 20 years. She laughed, sharp, cruel, dismissive. Oh, please. Robert said we could use the house as long as we wanted. We're actually doing something productive here. You just show up to complain. Then more faces appeared behind her, Veronica, her teenagers, her mother with that judgmental stare, and people I didn't even know. A man in a Hawaiian shirt, a young woman with a baby, another man smoking on my balcony. Every one of them looked at me as if I were the one trespassing. Megan's mother stepped closer, examining me with disdain. This is the mother-in-law you always talk about, she sneered. I expected someone bigger. She looks pretty ordinary. Their quiet snickers stung my heart. There I stood at 70 years old, simple clothes, simple life, being mocked by strangers on the property I had worked my whole life to build. Where's Robert? I whispered, panic rising. My son, he knows I'm coming. Working, Megan snapped. Unlike you, he has real responsibilities. And there's no room for you here. All the bedrooms are taken. The kitchen is full. You'll just make things tense. In that moment, my world stopped. She was forcing me out of my own home. This house, the one I built after being widowed, the one I paid for by sewing other people's clothes day and night, the one I tended with my own hands for 20 years, was being taken from me as if I were nothing. This house is mine, I managed to say, though my voice trembled. I have the documents. I pay every bill. Oh, enough, she barked. Always the same thing, my house, my money. Robert is your son. What's yours is his. And what's his is mine. That's how real families work. The kids had stopped playing, and suddenly all eyes were on me. I could feel their stares, cold, judgmental, waiting for me to crumble. My cheeks burned with humiliation, but something deep inside me refused to break. I would not give them the show they were hoping for. One of the teenagers, Megan's niece, I assumed, stepped closer and looked me up and down with insolent confidence. Why don't you just go to a hotel? My aunt's right. There's no room for you here. It's all right, sweetheart, I replied with a calm smile, one I forced from a place far deeper than my heart. I understand perfectly. Megan's smirk widened, convinced she'd won. The rest looked satisfied, as if they had just witnessed some fair victory. They had no idea what they had awakened. I walked away from my own house with slow, steady steps, and my mind drifted back 20 years, back to when this place was nothing but a patch of weeds and a dream. I was 50 then, newly widowed, with a 25-year-old son who depended entirely on me. It was just Robert and me against the world, and I decided to build a refuge for our future. I remembered that hot August morning when I arrived at the empty lot with my old work shoes and my worn savings book. I had earned every dollar as a seamstress, working from 4 in the morning until late at night. Wedding gowns, uniforms, curtains, alterations. My fingers bled more times than I could count, but every stitch brought me closer to a home. The architect raised his eyebrows when I said I wanted to build a beach house. "Mrs. Crawford, this will cost at least $45,000, he warned. "Are you sure you can manage that?" I opened my bank book and set it on his desk. I had exactly $45,000, saved penny by penny. Robert was with me the day construction began. His eyes sparkled with pride, watching me turn struggle into hope. "Mom, are we really building a beach house?" he asked as I marked the foundation lines. "We're not just building it," I told him. "We're building our future with our own hands." And we did. For 2 full years, every single weekend, I came here, hauling sand, painting walls, planting every single tree. Robert helped whenever college allowed. Together, we chose the tiles, the wall colors, and the placements of the windows so the sea breeze would flow just right. When the house was finished, Robert hugged me on the deck. "Mom, you're the strongest woman I know," he said. "Someday I'll tell my family how you built this paradise with pure love and hard work." How could that same boy allow his wife to humiliate me in the place I built with my own sacrifice? This house wasn't just shelter. It was my independence after widowhood. My proof that a woman could stand on her own. My sanctuary, my reminder of who Eleanor Crawford was before anyone reduced me to Robert's mom. Every item in that house carried a memory. The dining table I paid for with 3 months of sewing quinceañera dresses. The curtains I stitched from clearance fabric. The kitchen pots I bought with a year's worth of saved nickels. But what hurt most was remembering Megan's early years, when she treated me like family. "Oh, Mother Crawford, your home is beautiful," she'd say. She helped me cook, played with the kids, even brought flowers. When did she begin seeing me as a burden instead of the woman who raised her husband? Maybe it was after Robert's promotion, or when they bought their own house, or when she began acting superior to the seamstress who lived in a small apartment. The signs had been there, her comments about my age, my clothes, my habits, her hints about my house being wasted. I knew now this wasn't spontaneous. She had planned this takeover for a long time, designed to humiliate me and claim what I built. As I walked to my car, a cold, steady rage rose inside me. Not the kind that makes you yell, but the kind that makes you sharp. Dangerous. Calculated. The rage of a woman who had survived widowhood, poverty, and decades of hard work. Megan had made a grave mistake. She had underestimated me. But the deepest wound wasn't her betrayal, it was Robert's silence. My son, the boy I nursed through fevers, the young man I carried through college, the man who promised he'd always protect me, had allowed his wife to treat me like trash in my own home. I drove to a hotel, the Golden Sands. $85 a night. Money I shouldn't have had to spend. I should have been sleeping in my own bed, in my own home. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Megan's smug smile. Heard her sharp words. Felt the humiliation sting all over again. By 6 a.m., I was awake, drinking coffee and planning. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Robert didn't know. I decided to try one more calm conversation. Surely my son wouldn't allow this. But when I arrived at 8 a.m., the front door was locked. My own door. I had to ring the bell like a stranger. Veronica opened it, annoyed and disheveled. "What now?" she snapped. "I came for my personal things," I replied, steady and polite. "And I need to speak with Megan." "Megan's sleeping." "And your stuff isn't here anymore, we put it in bags in the garage." "My things?" "In bags. In the garage." It hit me like a knife. "What do you mean?" I asked. "This is my home. Everything in it belongs to me." "Look, lady," she sighed, Megan explained everything. Robert gave her permission. "You're just making drama." She let me in, but I felt like an intruder. The smell was wrong, strange food, cigarettes, cheap perfume. My living room was cluttered with inflatable mattresses and piles of clothes. My furniture was stained. Then the kitchen, my beautiful kitchen, was a disaster. Burnt grease on the stove. Sour-smelling dishes piled high. My best pots ruined. Where are my china plates? I whispered. Oh, some of those broke. Kids were playing. Megan said they were old anyway. My heart cracked. Those plates were treasures, collected over years. Upstairs, in my master bedroom, Megan's mother was putting clothes in my closet. This is my room, I said shakily. She waved me off. Oh, don't worry. I packed your clothes in bags so they won't wrinkle. My dresses, crammed into plastic bags. 2 kids slept in my bed. My favorite pillows on the floor, stained. Ma'am, I need the children off my bed, I said firmly. Your bed, she scoffed. Megan said you're not using this room anymore. The kids need it more. It was a nightmare. In my own house, I was treated like the intruder. I finally found Megan outside on the terrace, drinking coffee from my favorite mug, wearing my robe, talking on the phone like she'd been the owner for decades. Yes, Mom, she said. The house is perfect. Don't worry, I already handled everything. Handled. When she saw me, she ended the call with irritation. What are you doing here? I told you there's no room. Megan, this house is legally mine. I pay the taxes. I maintain everything. Robert can't get permission for something he doesn't own. Oh, stop, she snapped. Robert is your son. Children inherit from parents. It's normal. Besides, we're taking better care of this place than you ever did. Look how full of family it is. Happy? I repeated. You destroyed my kitchen. You broke my plates. You threw my clothes into bags. Well, most of your stuff was old anyway. We actually did you a favor. A favor. I stared at her, speechless. She had invaded my home, destroyed my things, humiliated me in every possible way, and dared call it a favor. Where is Robert? I asked again. I told you, working. And he's completely on board with this. It was his idea, actually. He said it was time this house was used for something productive instead of sitting empty waiting for your visits. That lie, that horrible lie. Cut deeper than anything else. Because I knew my son. And Robert would never do this to me. But then why wasn't he here defending me? Why wasn't my own son stopping his wife from treating me this way? Megan, I said quietly but firmly, let me be very clear. You have until tomorrow to get your entire family out of my house. This ends now. She let out that cruel, mocking laugh I'd grown to recognize all too well. What are you going to do? Call the police? Sue your own son? Don't be ridiculous, Eleanor. You can't do anything to us. We're family. And in that moment, she was right, about one thing. We were family. But she had forgotten a very old rule. Wolves don't attack their own pack. And she had just challenged the oldest, toughest wolf of all. I smiled, calm as winter frost, and headed for the door. You're right, Megan. We are family. And you'll learn exactly what that means. That afternoon, I returned with an excuse. I'd forgotten important medication in my bathroom. Megan opened the door reluctantly but didn't bother to follow me. She was too busy preparing a barbecue on my deck with her entire extended family. As I climbed the stairs, I took the chance to truly assess the damage. And what I found was worse than anything I'd imagined. My master bedroom, my sanctuary, wasn't just occupied. They had moved my vanity, scratched the surface of my mirror, and stuffed my drawers full of their dirty underwear. The bathroom looked like a crime scene. My special white porcelain tub, the one I'd saved for years to install, was stained with black hair dye. The hand-embroidered towels I had poured hours into were thrown on the floor, filthy and sour-smelling. My skincare products were gone, emptied by Megan's entire clan. But the real devastation waited in my hidden closet. Behind my main wardrobe, I had a small secret space, my private vault for important documents and sentimental things. Hardly anyone knew it existed. It had been found. Opened. Violated. My documents were scattered, some trampled on the floor. The jewelry I inherited from my mother, gone. My property titles were wrinkled and bent, as if someone had handled them carelessly. And then I found papers that didn't belong to me. Legal documents. With Robert's name. With Megan's name. My hands trembled as I read. It was a petition to transfer the property, my home, into Robert's name. They were claiming that I was no longer capable of managing valuable assets due to my advanced age and deteriorated mental condition. Deteriorated mental condition. Me. The woman who had managed her finances alone for 70 years. Who had built her own success from nothing. Who still worked, still planned, still lived independently. They wanted to declare me mentally incompetent so they could steal my house. The document was dated last week. There it was, confirmation. This wasn't some chaotic family visit. This was a coordinated plan, an intentional scheme to take what I had built. They were using the law itself as a weapon. At the bottom of the file was something that made my blood run cold. A real estate appraisal. My beach house, valued at $300,000. Next to it, in Megan's handwriting, a note. With this money, we can buy a bigger apartment and put the kids in private school. We just need her to sign the papers. And for the old lady not to cause trouble. The old lady. That was me. The old lady who wasn't supposed to make noise while they stripped away my life's work, with my own son as their silent accomplice. I gathered every document and placed them in my bag. Now I understood everything clearly. This wasn't a family conflict. This was attempted robbery, a calculated fraud. A plan to erase me from my own home and my own history. I stepped to the bedroom window and looked down at the terrace. Megan's entire family was celebrating, laughing, drinking, blasting music. They grilled meat on my brand new barbecue. They used my outdoor dishes. Children I didn't know ran wild through my garden, destroying the flowers I had planted with such love. But what pierced me the most was Veronica, Megan's sister, taking selfies all around my property. She posed in my hammock, in my kitchen, in my yard. She uploaded them instantly with captions like, "Family vacation at our new beach house, red heart blessed." Our new house. Not even the family's house. Theirs. I took photos of everything, the mess, the damage, the disrespect. If this turned into a legal war, I needed proof. As I descended the stairs, I heard Megan on the phone again. This time she didn't even pretend to lower her voice. "No, Mom, don't worry," she said casually. "The lawyer said it's simple. Since Robert is an only child, he can claim the inheritance early because of his mother's declining mental capacity. Once the house is in his name, we can do whatever we want with it. Early inheritance. Due to incapacity. They were preparing to erase me while I was still very much alive. They wanted to declare me mentally incompetent, just to steal everything I had worked for while I was still alive. And then I heard the words that shattered whatever innocence I had left. "Yeah, we already sent the fake medical papers. We paid that doctor at the cheap clinic $50 to sign the report saying she has senile dementia. Robert didn't want to at first, but I told him it was for the good of the kids. Fake medical papers. A corrupt doctor. A made-up diagnosis. And worst of all, my own son believing that robbing me was somehow for the kids." Their voices kept going, but I couldn't listen anymore. My world didn't just crack, it collapsed. Not only because they had betrayed me, but because they had planned it with such precision. Every lie, every forged signature, every carefully planted detail, it was all designed to make their theft look legal. I walked out of that house without a word. There was nothing left to say. This wasn't a family misunderstanding anymore. This was a war. And they had chosen the dirtiest weapons possible: lies, forged documents, corrupt doctors, and the manipulation of my only child. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated me. They thought Eleanor Crawford was a fragile old woman who would crumble the moment she was threatened. They forgot I was the woman who built every brick of their life from nothing. The woman who knew the value of honest work and the weight of justice. So I planned. On Monday morning, Robert finally arrived. I saw his new car pull into my driveway like he owned the place. He acted as if nothing had happened, as if his family hadn't invaded my home and destroyed everything I held dear. I waited. I watched them with binoculars from the hotel terrace, studying every movement. I had spent the night organizing documents, taking photos, and preparing myself for the moment I would force the truth into the light. When I finally walked to the house, Robert opened the door with that same guilty smile he used as a little boy when he'd been caught lying. "Mom. How are you? Megan said you stopped by this weekend." "Megan told you?" I repeated slowly. "Is that all she told you, Robert?" He hesitated, fumbling with his keys the way he always did when he lied. "Well, she said there was a misunderstanding. That everything is settled. We talked about this. About using the house." "Talked about what exactly?" He stumbled through excuses about vacations and how I barely came here. "Oh, I see," I said quietly. "And did we also talk about declaring me mentally incompetent?" His face drained of color. "What? Mom, what are you talking about?" I took the documents from my bag and placed them in his hands. "This, Robert. A request to transfer my property because I'm supposedly unable to manage it. Does that ring a bell?" His hands shook. For a moment, I saw my little boy again, the one I raised alone, but the moment vanished when Megan appeared behind him. "What's going on?" she snapped. "Robert, we agreed there was nothing to discuss." "Megan," he whispered, "she found the papers." "What papers?" she said, pretending to be confused. "Robert, your mom is stressed again. You know how she gets." "I'm not confused," I said. "And I'm not senile, no matter what the fake report you paid $50 for says." Her mask finally fell. Her eyes hardened with cold hatred. "You were spying on us?" "I was protecting my house from thieves." "We are not thieves," she shrieked. "Robert is your son. He has a right to this property. He has a right to inherit when I die, not to steal from me while I'm alive." "Oh, please," she hissed. "You're already old, Eleanor. How many more years do you think you have? Why not let us turn this place into something useful instead of letting it sit empty?" The silence that followed cut through the air like a blade. Even the children stopped playing. Robert finally lifted his head. "Did you really just suggest my mother hurry up and die so you can keep her house?" "I never said that," Megan snapped. "I only said she doesn't need so many properties at her age." "And who are you," I asked softly, "to decide what I need?" She had no answer. "And where," I continued, "are my pearl earrings? My husband's gold watch? The silver coins from my closet?" Robert turned to her, shocked. "What silver coins? That's a lie." Megan screamed, but her face told the truth. "Robert," I said, "I need you to tell me the truth. Did you know about those papers?" He swallowed hard. "Yes," he whispered. "I did." The sound of my heart breaking was louder than any argument that followed. "And the fake medical report too?" I asked. "Did you know about that?" Megan said it was normal, he mumbled. "She said all kids do that to protect their parents from making bad financial decisions." "Protect me?" I asked quietly. "Protect me from what, Robert? What bad decisions, Robert? Spending my money on the house I built for my own vacations?" "No, Mom," he muttered, "but Megan is right, the house is empty most of the time, and we have expenses. We have kids who need. So that's why you decided to steal from me instead of simply asking for help." "We're not robbing you," Megan cut in sharply. "We're helping you be more practical with your money." "Helping me?" I repeated. "By faking medical reports, pretending I have dementia, and invading my home like thieves? That's enough. Megan exploded. Robert, tell her the truth. Tell her you already spoke to the lawyer. Tell her the papers are ready. Tell her all we need is your signature to transfer the property. Tell her it's time you act like a man instead of her obedient little boy. Robert looked at me, shame and pain mixed in his eyes. Mom. I'm so sorry. You're asking for forgiveness, I said quietly, while planning to rob me of my house. It's not robbing, he whispered. It's securing the kid's future. By destroying the present of your own mother? He didn't answer. He just stood there, caught between the woman who wanted him to sign away my life, and the woman who had given him one. It's all right, Robert, I said at last. I finally understand. I know exactly where your loyalties are. I turned toward my car. But before I left, I faced all of them one last time. One more thing. You thought Eleanor Crawford was a weak, defenseless old woman who would roll over and surrender. You were wrong. I fought poverty and I won. I fought widowhood and I won. I built this entire property brick by brick before you were even in my life. And now? I'll fight you, and I'll win this too. Megan's smug smile disappeared. For the first time, I saw fear flicker in her eyes. With what lawyer? She asked, voice trembling. You don't have money for a legal battle. I smiled slowly. Who told you I don't have money, dear? I walked out of my home with my dignity intact, though my heart felt like shattered glass. My son had made his choice. He chose easy money over the mother who raised, fed, educated, and loved him for 45 years. He chose his wife's manipulation over the quiet truth of his own conscience. But if they thought I would sit in a corner crying, they didn't know me at all. I drove straight to the bank. I needed to know exactly how prepared I was for this war. For 20 years I had saved every month, $300 from my pension and whatever I earned from my sewing. I learned early in life that savings weren't just money. They were power. Protection. Freedom. Alex Peterson, the bank manager, had known me for 15 years. Eleanor, how can I help you today? I need the exact balance of all my accounts. And I need to discuss a legal matter. When he showed me the numbers, I felt something powerful rising inside me for the first time in days. $87,000 in savings. $23,000 in certificates of deposit. $12,000 in checking. $122,000 total. Megan had no idea who she was dealing with. Mr. Peterson, I said, freeze my accounts from any outside access, and give me a formal letter confirming that I am mentally capable of managing my finances. His face darkened. Is someone attempting to declare you incompetent? Yes, I said simply. My own family is trying to take my assets. That is extremely serious. I can refer you to an attorney. Please do. He handed me the contact for Thomas Gallagher, a specialist in family law and asset fraud. He's the best in the state. Tell him I sent you. I left the bank feeling steadier than I had in days, not just because I had the money to defend myself, but because I finally had a plan. I called Gallagher from the parking lot. His secretary scheduled me for 4 p.m. the same day. I spent the morning organizing everything. Fake transfer papers. Photos of the damage. List of stolen items. Screenshots of Veronica posting pictures of her new beach house. All my legitimate property documents. At exactly 4 p.m., I sat in Thomas Gallagher's elegant office. He was in his mid-60s, gray-haired, with steady, intelligent eyes. Mrs. Crawford, he said, tell me everything. Don't leave out a single detail. I told him everything. The invasion. The humiliation. The fake medical report. The theft. My son's betrayal. He took notes, asking smart, focused questions. Do you have the original property papers? Yes. The house is entirely mine. Paid for every penny. And the doctor who signed the dementia report, has he ever even examined you? Never. I don't know him. Excellent. That is falsification of medical documents, a federal crime. And documentation for your stolen jewelry? My late husband's watch alone is insured for $3,000. He smiled. Mrs. Crawford, your case is extremely strong. We're looking at trespassing, theft, forged documents, attempted fraud, and medical corruption. What can we do? Several things, he said confidently. Tomorrow morning we file for eviction, immediately. Then we report the stolen items. Then the falsified medical documents to the authorities. And we request a restraining order. How long will it take? The eviction could be immediate. The law moves fast when trespassers have no legal right to the property. And your fee? $5,000. I can pay today. He smiled fully now. Good. I like clients who are ready to fight. He paused, then asked, are you prepared to take this all the way? Your relationship with your son may not survive. I thought of Robert, of who he used to be, of who he had chosen to become. Counselor, I said softly, if my relationship with my son can be destroyed by money, then it never truly existed. And if he apologizes only after being caught? Those apologies mean nothing. Thomas nodded. Understood. We'll proceed. One more thing, I said. I want this to be public. I want everyone, their friends, neighbors, co-workers, to know what they did. They underestimated me. I want them to pay the social cost of their betrayal too. That, he said with a slow nod, can be arranged. I walked out of that office feeling like a different woman. I was no longer Eleanor Crawford, the betrayed, humiliated mother everyone thought they could trample over. I was Eleanor Crawford, a woman fully armed with the law and ready to defend everything she had built. That night, from my hotel room, I called my sister Laura in Texas and told her the whole story. Eleanor, I can't believe Robert would do that after everything you sacrificed for him. It doesn't matter what I sacrificed anymore, Laura, I told her. What matters is what I'm going to take back. Do you want me to come help you? No, sister. This is a battle I have to fight alone. But thank you. After hanging up, I sat on the edge of the bed and looked toward my house. From the hotel window, I could see the lights glowing, the music playing, their celebration continuing as if I didn't exist. Tomorrow would be a very different day for all of them. I smiled in the darkness. Eleanor Crawford had returned to war. At exactly 8 a.m. on Tuesday, Thomas Gallagher arrived at my home with 3 legal documents, a police officer, and a public notary. I stepped out of my taxi at the same moment, dressed in my best gray suit and carrying a folder thick with evidence. Megan's family was eating breakfast on my terrace when they saw the official vehicles pull up. Megan dropped her coffee cup the moment she spotted the police plates. Good morning, Thomas announced firmly. I'm attorney Thomas Gallagher, legal representative for Mrs. Eleanor Crawford, the rightful owner of this property. We are here to deliver an immediate eviction order for illegal trespassing. Megan ran down the steps in a panic. What are you talking about? This is my husband's house. We have every right to be here. Ma'am, the officer asked, do you have any documents proving legal ownership of this property? My husband is her son. He gave me permission. And where is your husband right now? He's at work. Thomas opened his briefcase calmly. Here are the original property deeds, all in Mrs. Crawford's name. Here are the tax receipts for the last 5 years, all paid by Mrs. Crawford. And here, he held out another document, is the court-ordered eviction for trespassing without the owner's consent. Megan's mother stepped forward, nervous and pale. What is happening here? What's happening, I said evenly, is that you invaded my home without permission, destroyed my things, stole from me, and tried to erase my life's work with fake documents. Now you're going to face the consequences. Veronica burst out the front door recording everything with her phone. This is elder abuse. She's crazy. She's harassing us. Miss, the notary snapped, stop recording immediately. This is an official legal action and cannot be filmed. Thomas pulled out another stack of papers. We also have a formal theft complaint for missing jewelry and valuables, including estimated values. We didn't steal anything. Megan shouted. Where are the pearl earrings that belonged to Mrs. Crawford's mother? The officer asked. I don't know anything about earrings. And the gold watch belonging to Mrs. Crawford's late husband, insured for $3,000? Megan went silent, her face flushing with shame. Furthermore, Thomas added, we have evidence of falsified medical documents used to declare Mrs. Crawford mentally incompetent. That is a federal crime. Medical documents? The officer asked. What kind? I handed them the forged report, claiming I had senile dementia, signed by a doctor who had never met me, bought for $50. The officer frowned deeply. Ma'am, he said to Megan, did you pay for a fake medical report? I didn't, we were just trying, we only wanted to help her. She's too old to manage. And so you tried to steal her home with fraudulent paperwork. Just then, Robert's car screeched into the driveway. He jumped out, panic written all over him. What's going on? Your wife and her family are being legally evicted from your mother's property, Thomas told him, and you, Mr. Crawford, are being cited as an accomplice in attempted asset fraud. Asset fraud? Robert echoed, stunned. I held up the transfer documents. The papers you were going to sign to steal my home, Robert. The ones your wife hid in my secret closet. Robert's face drained of all color. Mom. I can explain. There's nothing left to explain, I said. You already made your choice. I didn't want it to get this far. Didn't want it to get to what? To me defending myself? You hoped I'd stay quiet while they robbed me. Megan leaned in and whispered in his ear. Robert shook his head, terrified. What is she telling you, Robert? I asked. She wants me to tell the officer you have mental problems, that you imagine things. And what are you going to say? Robert finally looked me in the eyes. I saw the frightened little boy he once was, buried beneath the cowardly man he had become. I don't know what to say, Mom. Then say nothing. Thomas produced the final documents. Mr. Robert Crawford, here is your official citation. You have 3 days to appear in family court to answer for complicity in attempted asset fraud against a senior citizen. Your signature is on the transfer documents. Your name is on the petition declaring your mother mentally incompetent. You authorized the fraudulent use of this property. You are legally responsible. But I'm her son, Robert stammered. She can't sue her own son. The law doesn't make exceptions for family, the officer said. Fraud is fraud. Megan's mother began crying. This is unfair. We're family. Families don't sue each other. Families also don't steal from each other, I replied. But you broke that rule first. Thomas checked his watch. You have 2 hours to gather your belongings and leave. Anything belonging to Mrs. Crawford stays. The officer will supervise. 2 hours? Veronica screamed. We have kids. We have luggage. You should have thought about that before invading someone else's home, the notary said coldly. Megan moved toward me, tears burning in her eyes, not sadness, but fury. You're going to pay for this, she hissed. Robert, defend your family. Robert looked at me with something dark, resentment. Mom, are you really going through with this? Robert, I said quietly, I already have. You brought me to this point. But we're family. Family? I repeated. Family invades houses? Family steals jewelry? Family falsifies medical reports? Family humiliates its elders in public? We just wanted. You wanted to rob me. And I want justice. Thomas closed his folder. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2 hours begin now. I stood in my garden, watching Megan's family scramble through my house like panicked animals, grabbing their things, shouting, blaming one another. I didn't move. I simply watched their entire plan collapse at their feet. Eleanor Crawford had counterattacked. And she had won the first round. The next 2 hours felt like watching a family drama movie on fast forward. From the deck of my reclaimed home, I watched the carefully planned invasion collapse in front of me. Megan's mother was the first to break. After half an hour of crying, yelling, and blaming the universe, she collapsed on the stairs. "This is your fault, Megan," she shouted. "You told me everything was handled. You told me the old lady had agreed to everything. Mom, shut up and help me pack." Megan snapped, stuffing clothes into plastic bags. The old lady played us. She pretended to be helpless, and it turns out she had money and a lawyer ready. Veronica kept recording the chaos, but now her videos weren't glamorous clips of her new beach house. They were shaky, humiliating footage of their family being legally kicked out as trespassers. "This is going to go viral," she screamed. "People will see how this woman treated us." The officer walked straight up to her and took the phone from her hand. "Miss, we already told you, recording a legal procedure is not allowed. You do it again, and you'll be arrested for obstruction." The children ran around screaming and crying, completely lost. One little boy, maybe 8, walked up to me with big, wet eyes. "Ma'am, why are you kicking us out? We didn't do anything wrong." My heart wavered. The children were innocent pawns in all of this. "I'm not kicking you out because you did something wrong," I said gently. "I'm asking you to leave because this is my house. Your family came without permission." "But my mom said it was our house now." "Your mom was wrong." Megan overheard and stormed toward me. "Don't talk to my kids. You don't have the right to confuse them." "I'm not confusing them," I replied. "They're confused because you brought them into a house that wasn't yours. This house is ours. Robert is your son. Children inherit what belongs to their parents. Children inherit when their parents die," I said calmly, "not while their parents are alive and perfectly capable." "You're old. What do you need such a big property for?" Thomas stepped in immediately. "Ma'am, every comment you make regarding my client's age is being documented as evidence of age discrimination and psychological abuse." Megan fell silent instantly. Robert had been hauling suitcases to the cars without making eye contact. But with only 30 minutes left, he finally walked over. "Mom, we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about, Robert." "Yes, there is," he insisted. "Look, I admit this got out of control, but we can fix it. We can reach a family agreement without police or lawyers." "What kind of agreement?" "You keep the house. We'll admit it was a mistake to come without asking. In exchange, you drop the lawsuit and forget about the jewelry. We'll return everything that was taken by mistake." "By mistake?" I repeated. "Well, in the confusion of moving, things got mixed up." "Robert," I said, "do you truly expect me to believe that stealing my mother's jewelry was a mistake?" "It wasn't stealing," he protested weakly. "It was a misunderstanding." "And the fake medical report declaring me mentally incompetent, was that a misunderstanding too?" Silence. "And the property transfer request claiming I had lost my mental capacity, another misunderstanding?" Silence. "And your wife publicly calling me a parasite in front of everyone, was that a misunderstanding as well?" "That wasn't me, that was Megan." "But you were there," I reminded him. "You watched her humiliate me in my own home. And you said nothing." I didn't know what to say." "You knew exactly what to say, Robert. You just didn't want to contradict your wife." Megan was stressed, "Mom. She had the kids, and that gave her the right to insult me?" Robert's patience snapped. "Okay, Megan behaved badly." "I admit it," he yelled. "What else do you want me to say?" "I want the truth," I said. "I want you to admit that you planned to steal my home." I want you to admit you betrayed me. I didn't betray you for money, he said. I did it for my family. And what am I, Robert? I asked quietly. What am I? You're my family too, but Megan and the kids are my primary responsibility now. So your responsibility is to rob your mother? It wasn't robbing, he muttered. It was securing my children's future. By destroying the present of the woman who gave you life. Robert dragged his hands through his hair in frustration. You don't understand, he said. We have huge bills. The kids need private school, vacations, better clothes. Megan's house needs repairs. I work non-stop, but it's not enough. And so you decided I should pay your bills with my life's work. You live alone in a small apartment. You don't need a big beach house. It's waste. There it was, the truth. A waste, I repeated softly. Mom, I didn't mean. Are my 30 years of work a waste? No. Is every penny I saved to build this home a waste? Mom, please. Is raising you alone as a widow a waste too? That's enough, he exploded. You always bring up everything you sacrificed for me. You always make me feel guilty for having my own life. Silence. Even Megan stopped packing. There it is, I said, calm as stone. You didn't betray me for money. You betrayed me because my sacrifices became a burden you didn't want to remember. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. You shouted it. He stood there, breathing heavily, ashamed and angry all at once. Robert, I said softly, do you know the saddest part? If you had just told me the truth, if you had simply asked me for help, I would have helped. We would have found a solution. But instead, you chose the cruelest path. He finally answered. Because I knew you would say no. How would you know? I asked. You never asked. Because you've always been strict with your money, he said. Always reminding me where it came from. I finally understood. It wasn't greed. It was pride. Fragile, stubborn, male pride. You know what, Robert? I said quietly. You're right. I should have let you learn independence earlier. I should have let you struggle and solve your own problems. He stared at me, chest tight, breathing hard. But it's too late to change the past, I said. And now you will get the chance to be fully independent. From this day forward, you will solve your own financial problems without my help. Thomas checked his watch. 10 minutes. The final rush was absolute chaos. Megan shouting, kids crying, Robert carrying luggage with defeated shoulders. When everyone was finally inside the cars, Megan rolled down her window and screamed. This isn't over, you bitter old woman. We'll appeal. We'll prove you're crazy. Please do, I replied calmly. My lawyer will be waiting. They sped off, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Robert looked back at me through the rearview mirror. But I had already turned away. Thomas approached quietly. How do you feel, Mrs. Crawford? Tired, I said truthfully. But free. Free from pretending we were still a happy family. Free from excusing betrayal in the name of motherhood. Free from forcing forgiveness where real wounds still lived. The police officer nodded goodbye. The notary closed his folder. And Thomas placed the keys to my own house in my hand. Mrs. Crawford, your home is officially yours again. I walked up the steps to my terrace and sat in my favorite chair. For the first time in a week, I was alone in my own home. But the final act of this nightmare was still waiting for me. A week after the eviction, my beach house had finally returned to its quiet, peaceful self. I'd paid $700 for a professional cleaning crew to erase every trace of their invasion. The strange smells were gone, the stains vanished, the furniture back where it belonged. And yet, the real justice was only beginning. On Friday, Thomas called with the first good news I'd heard in weeks. Mrs. Crawford, the doctor who signed the fake dementia report, has been suspended. Turns out he's done this at least 12 times for cash. And Robert and Megan? I asked. That's the best part, Thomas continued. The prosecutor is moving forward with criminal charges, asset fraud and conspiracy. This isn't just civil anymore. It's criminal. What does that mean? It means they could face jail time. And their legal fees are already enormous. That afternoon, I received a call I never expected. Veronica, Megan's sister, was crying. Eleanor, please. Megan is desperate. Robert has already spent over $15,000 on lawyers, and the case hasn't even started. And what does that have to do with me? I asked. We want to apologize. We want to fix this. You want to fix things, I replied, or you want me to drop the lawsuits because you're out of money? Ma'am, please. Megan has children. Robert could lose his job if this becomes public. She should have thought about her children before trying to rob me. And Robert should have thought about his job before faking medical documents. But you already have your house back. You already won. Why keep punishing us? Because getting my house back doesn't erase the humiliation. It doesn't return the stolen jewelry. It doesn't undo the betrayal of my own son. We can return the jewelry. It's at my mother's house. The jewelry you accidentally stole? Ma'am, please. Tell Megan, I said, that if she wants to talk to me, she needs to come here herself, and bring every piece of jewelry. I hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Relief because their plan had collapsed. Sorrow because my relationship with Robert felt permanently broken. 2 days later, Megan showed up at my door. She came alone, no Robert, holding a small bag, her eyes swollen from crying. Eleanor, she whispered, I came to return your things. And to apologize. Come in. She sat like a scolded child in my living room, setting the bag on the table and removing my jewelry one piece at a time. These are your pearl earrings, your gold watch, the silver coins, and this necklace that we took by mistake. By mistake? She lowered her head. No. I took them. To sell. We needed the money. We're drowning in debt. Robert made bad investments. Our credit cards are maxed out. The kids need school. We're behind on our mortgage. And that's why you robbed me? It wasn't robbing. It was asking for help, indirectly. By invading my house and humiliating me publicly? Megan broke down completely. I know I behaved terribly. But I was desperate. When Robert told me you had this beautiful house that you barely used, I thought maybe it wouldn't hurt you. I never meant to steal it. I just thought we could use it. And then, someone told us it would be easier to transfer it to Robert to avoid legal issues. A lawyer told you to falsify medical documents? He said it wasn't fraud if it stayed in the family. I stared at her, stunned by the sheer stupidity and recklessness. They had destroyed their own lives following the advice of a corrupt bargain bin lawyer. Where is Robert? I finally asked. She hesitated. He didn't want to come. He says you're not his mother anymore. Those words cut deeper than I expected, but they also confirmed one thing, I had made the right decision. He says you're not his mother anymore, Megan repeated softly. Yes, she added, he says a real mother wouldn't sue her own son, that you chose money over family. And what do you think, Megan? I think we started all of this. But I also think you took it too far. We could have fixed everything as a family, without lawyers, without police. How? I asked. How could we have fixed it as a family when you lied to me, deceived me, and tried to rob me behind my back? But we're family, she said quietly. Families forgive. Families respect each other, I replied. And you disrespected me in every way possible. Megan wiped her eyes, then met my gaze. What do I have to do for you to drop the lawsuits? Do you really want to know? Yes. I want Robert to come here in person and apologize. Not through you. Not through a phone. I want him to look me in the eyes and admit what he did. He won't come, she whispered. He's too proud. Too proud to apologize to his mother, I said, but not too proud to try to steal from her. He feels betrayed by you, too, Eleanor. Betrayed, I repeated, because I defended myself? Because you chose lawyers over family. I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that rose from somewhere deep inside. Megan, do you really believe I chose lawyers over family? I chose justice over betrayal. I chose dignity over humiliation. I chose truth over your lies. But we're family, she whispered. Family doesn't destroy each other. Megan stood. So there's no way to fix this? The way to fix this, I answered, was not to do it in the first place. After she left, I sat on my terrace and watched the sun melt into the sea. The waves kept their steady rhythm, uncaring, eternal, indifferent to the small human tragedies unfolding on the shore. A week later, Thomas called with the final update. Mrs. Crawford, Robert and Megan accepted a plea deal. They'll pay a $25,000 fine, complete 200 hours of community service, and be on probation for 2 years. No jail time? No. But they will have a permanent criminal record. And the fake medical report has been officially annulled. Legally, your mental capacity is spotless. And their legal fees? They've spent over $30,000. Altogether, they've lost more than $50,000 trying to take your house. $50,000. Almost half the value of my home. They lost more money trying to steal from me than they would have gained if they'd succeeded. That night, alone in my restored home, I took stock of everything. I had lost my son. That truth ached more than anything else. Robert had chosen resentment over remorse, pride over forgiveness. But I had gained something far more precious. My dignity. My independence. And the certainty that Eleanor Crawford was still a sharp, capable woman who could defend everything she had built. 70 years had not turned me into a helpless old woman. They had made me wise, resourceful, determined. The next month, I did something new. I hired a part-time housekeeper to watch the house when I was away. Not because I couldn't manage it, but because I refused to allow another invasion. I changed every lock, installed cameras, and updated my will, leaving the house to charities instead of Robert. If he wanted independence so badly, he could have it. 6 months later, a letter arrived from Robert. A letter, not a call. Mom, I hope you're well. The kids ask about you. Megan and I have learned our lesson. Maybe someday we can be a family again. I didn't respond. Real families don't betray each other for money. Real families don't humiliate their elders. Real families don't forge documents to steal a home. Robert chose money over his mother. I chose dignity over his forgiveness. We both lived with the consequences. I lived in my beach house, free, independent, at peace. They lived with debt, a criminal record, and the shame of trying to swindle a 70-year-old woman. Silent justice had won. And Eleanor Crawford had proven that underestimating an older woman is the most expensive mistake anyone can make.